The sky burned. Thick columns of smoke curled into the atmosphere, blotting out the sun. Beneath the choking haze, the once thriving human colony lay in ruins. Buildings lay in shattered heaps, their metal frameworks twisted like brittle bones. Fires raged unchecked, the orange glow reflecting off the sleek, armored hulls of the invading Zalvaran war machines. Governor Elias Kane crouched behind an overturned transport, gripping the matte black stock of his rifle. He counted the movement of enemy patrols, calculating their pace. Heavy footfalls sent tremors through the ground. Zalvaran shock troopers, massive reptilian bipeds clad in obsidian-colored battle armor. Their elongated skulls bore no eyes, only a series of pulsating ridges that sensed movement and heat. Their language was an unsettling mix of guttural clicks and ultrasonic hums, like a predator whispering before the strike. Kane exhaled, steadying his nerves. He had faced combat before, back in the border wars, but those had been skirmishes with pirates and smugglers, not a full-scale planetary invasion by one of the most feared empires in the galaxy. A voice crackled in his earpiece. "Governor, we've got a problem." It was Dr. Samira Patel, the colony's chief engineer, and possibly the only person Kane knew who could sound both irritated and terrified at the same time. "Understatement of the year, Doc," Kane muttered, shifting his position. "We lost the main grid. The pulse cannons are offline, and I can't override the enemy's signal jamming. If we don't get control back, we're sitting ducks." Kane clenched his jaw. The colony had defenses, automated turrets, repulsor shields, but they had gone dark the moment the Zalvaran landed. The enemy had neutralized their defenses with terrifying efficiency, as if humanity's strategies were already written in their playbook. Except, Kane thought grimly, they hadn't accounted for the kind of humans who thrived on rewriting the rules. "All right, where's Delgado?" A second voice cut in over the comms, thick with amusement. "Oh, I'm here, boss. And I got presents." Marcus Wrecker Delgado sat perched on a rooftop, grinning through his dirt-streaked face. The demolitionist's armored vest was stuffed with explosives of questionable legality, and in his hands, he cradled a makeshift detonator. "See that convoy rolling through the square?" Wrecker gestured toward a line of Zalvaran supply transports moving through the rubble-strewn streets. "They think they're safe 'cause we're primitive. Ain't that cute?" Kane glanced toward the convoy. Supply transports meant munitions, command nodes, valuable targets. His grip tightened on his rifle. "You sure you can pull this off?" "Boss, please. I could make fireworks out of a tin can and a bad attitude." "All right. Do it." A heartbeat later, the world exploded. The street erupted in a chain of violent detonations, sending Zalvaran troopers hurtling through the air. Fire consumed the transport line, secondary blasts rippling through their ranks as fuel and ordnance ignited. Shattered debris rained down, the shockwave rattling Kane's teeth. The surviving Zalvaran scrambled for cover, their orderly advance thrown into chaos. Then the real attack began. Juno Vance, the strategist, the dreamer, emerged from the smoke, leading a team of resistance fighters. The soldiers moved with precision, rifles snapping into position as they unleashed a relentless barrage on the disoriented invaders. Juno moved like a ghost, her movements fluid, her mind already 3 steps ahead. "Push forward," she barked. "Keep them off balance." Kane surged from cover, adding his fire to the onslaught. The Zalvaran, for all their superiority, hesitated. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Their war doctrine was based on overwhelming force, shock and awe. Yet here they were, being ambushed, outmaneuvered, outthought. One of the massive shock troopers bellowed and charged straight for Kane, its four-clawed hands flexing, eager to rip him apart. Kane held his ground, waited for the perfect moment, then fired 3 precise shots into the gaps between its armor plating. The alien stumbled, stunned. Before it could recover, Wrecker's well-placed grenade found its mark. The beast collapsed, twitching, before going still. Silence followed. Then, retreat. The surviving Zalvaran pulled back, their attack broken. Kane watched them disappear into the smoke, his pulse hammering.
"Governor, I'm in." Patel's voice returned over the comms. "I cracked their jamming. Give me 2 minutes and I'll have our turrets back online." "Make it 1, Doc. They'll be back soon." Juno approached, her expression unreadable as she surveyed the carnage. "They underestimated us." Kane wiped the sweat from his brow. "They won't make that mistake again." Wrecker chuckled, tossing a spent detonator aside. "Good. That'd be boring." Then, across the battlefield, a new sound emerged, one that sent a chill down Kane's spine. A deep, resonating hum, like a war horn from the depths of space. Juno's eyes narrowed. "That's not good." Overhead, a massive shadow loomed. Through the thick smoke, Kane glimpsed the unmistakable shape of an approaching Zalvaran dreadnought. The battle wasn't over. It had only just begun. The colony's underground command center was a repurposed mining facility, cramped, dimly lit, and barely holding together. Exposed wiring lined the walls, hastily patched after the first bombardment. The air smelled of sweat, ozone, and desperation. Elias Kane stood over a flickering holotable, watching the tactical map update in real time. Zalvaran had pulled back, but only to regroup. Their dreadnought now loomed over the colony, its orbital weapons primed for a precision strike. The next wave wouldn't be a test. It would be an execution. "We don't have time for a stand-up fight," Juno Vance said, arms crossed, her sharp green eyes scanning the map. "They have overwhelming firepower, better tech, and reinforcements en route." "So what's the play?" Wrecker leaned against a console, idly spinning a combat knife between his fingers. "We throwing more fireworks at 'em? 'Cause I got ideas." "You always have ideas, Doctor," Samira Patel muttered, her fingers flying across a salvaged Zalvaran datapad. "Most of them involve explosions." "Hey, don't knock what works, Doc." Wrecker grinned. "We don't need bigger explosions," Kane cut in. "We need to hit them where they don't expect it. Make them second-guess themselves." Patel looked up, eyes gleaming. "Then let's mess with their tech." Patel turned the holodisplay toward the others, pulling up a schematic of the Zalvaran comm network. "They rely on centralized battle AI for tactical coordination. Their ground forces, heavily automated. Their targeting, computer-controlled. That means if we can hack their systems, we blind them," Wrecker finished, eyes lighting up. "Oh, I like where this is going." "There's a problem," Juno interjected. "Their security is light years ahead of ours. Even if you break in, Patel, they'll notice." Patel smirked. "That's why we make them notice." She expanded the map, highlighting a location near the colony's industrial sector. "This relay hub controls their orbital strikes. If I can infiltrate it, I can reroute their targeting systems, feed them bad data, make them think we have forces where we don't." "And if they catch you?" Kane asked. "Then I hope Wrecker's explosions are as good as he claims." Wrecker grinned. "Always are." The team moved through the ruins under the cover of night, weaving through the skeletal remains of buildings. Distant booms echoed as Zalvaran patrols cleared debris, searching for survivors. Near the industrial sector, Patel knelt by a shattered bulkhead, prying open a maintenance panel. A mess of alien circuitry pulsed within. "Give me 2 minutes," she whispered. Juno and Wrecker took up defensive positions, while Kane surveyed the enemy movements through his rifle's scope. Zalvaran soldiers stood guard outside the relay station, 6 of them, heavily armored. "We need a distraction," Kane muttered. "On it," Wrecker said, pulling a small device from his belt. He twisted a dial, then lobbed it into a distant alley. A second later, a brilliant blue light flashed, followed by an ear-splitting sonic burst. Zalvaran spun toward the disturbance, weapons raised. Juno seized the moment, silenced pistol snapping up. 2 quick shots, and the rear guards collapsed without a sound. The others reacted too late. Kane and Wrecker surged forward, taking them down in a flurry of precise shots and brutal melee strikes. The entrance was clear. "Patel, go!" Patel rushed in, connecting her device to the Zalvaran control panel. Alien script scrolled rapidly as she worked. "I'm in, spoofing their targeting data now." On her screen, the Zalvaran battle AI pulsed a warning. The system recognized an anomaly. Security countermeasures activated. "They know," she muttered. "They're locking me out." Kane's voice came through the comms. "How much longer?" 30 seconds. Outside, deafening whoomp signaled the arrival of enemy reinforcements. Zalvaran troops stormed the facility, plasma fire raking the entrance. "We're out of time," Juno called. Wrecker tossed a grenade into the hallway. "Then we improvise." The explosion sent shrapnel and smoke billowing through the corridors. The Zalvaran hesitated, just long enough for Kane and Juno to unleash a withering crossfire. "Got it!" Patel shouted. "Their dreadnought thinks we have anti-orbital defenses near the riverbed." Kane's eyes widened. "That's nowhere near here." "Exactly," she grinned. "If they commit to that strike, they'll be blasting empty ground." "Then let's get out before they wise up," Juno urged. The team fell back, ducking through the shattered walls as more Zalvaran poured in. The relay hub trembled from enemy fire, but their job was done. Outside, the sky rumbled as the Zalvaran dreadnought's cannons charged. A moment later, brilliant lances of plasma rained down on an empty wasteland miles from the colony. The Zalvaran ground troops hesitated, momentarily leaderless. Juno smirked. They just shot at ghosts. Back at the bunker, the team gathered around the hollow table, watching real-time enemy movements. The Zalvaran ground forces were in disarray. "We bought ourselves time," Kane admitted. "But they'll figure it out soon." Patel wiped sweat from her brow. "Then we do it again, and again, until they realize fighting us is more trouble than it's worth." Wrecker stretched, cracking his knuckles. "I don't think they've ever had to deal with a species that makes up tactics on the fly." Juno nodded. "They see power as force. We see power as adaptability. Let's make them regret the difference." Kane's gaze hardened. The war wasn't over, but for the first time, they weren't just surviving. They were winning. Kane studied the tactical display, jaw clenched. Their deception had worked. The Zalvaran had wasted their orbital strike on empty ground. But now, the enemy was adapting. "They're deploying recon drones across the sector," Juno reported, her fingers dancing over the holotable. "Thermal, seismic, electromagnetic. They're scanning for us." "Means we pissed them off," Wrecker said, leaning back against a crate, tossing a knife between his hands. "I call that progress." "I call that trouble," Patel countered, rubbing her temples. "They're done underestimating us." We need a new edge. Kane exhaled slowly, eyes locked on the Xalvaran movements. Then we stop reacting and start hunting. For days, humanity had fought defensively, ambushing, misleading, surviving. Now it was time to turn that around. We need to cripple their command structure, Kane said. We take out their field commander. We turn this invasion into a mess of infighting and confusion. Juno tapped at the display. Their ground forces are being led by High Warlord Sulvarek. He operates from a mobile command center. He never stays in one place for long. Which means, Patel added, his movements are predictable if we track the right patterns. Kane turned to Wrecker. You up for a little sabotage? Wrecker grinned. You had me at sabotage. The plan was simple in theory, reckless in execution. They would lure Zulvarek's forces into a controlled battlefield, one rigged with surprises. Patel and Juno worked tirelessly, splicing into enemy communications, feeding false intel. Within hours, the Zalvaran believed a high-value human resistance leader, Kane himself, was pinned down in an abandoned refinery. By nightfall, the trap was set. Floodlights carved through the darkness as the Zalvaran swept into the refinery, their armored vehicles rolling over shattered metal. Drones hovered overhead, scanning every shadow. Sulvarek himself arrived in a towering command walker, an 8-legged war machine bristling with weaponry. I can smell you, human. His guttural voice boomed through external speakers. You hide like vermin, but I will drag you into the light. Inside the refinery, Kane pressed his back to a rusted support beam, watching as the Zalvaran funneled in. Juno crouched beside him, checking the remote detonator. They're right where we want them, she whispered. Kane exhaled. Then let's begin. He raised his rifle and fired a single shot straight into a fuel canister. The explosion ripped through the facility. Shockwaves tore through metal scaffolding, sending debris crashing down on the invaders. Fire and smoke swallowed the battlefield as the Zalvaran ranks broke apart, their disciplined formation collapsing into chaos. Wrecker, stationed atop a crumbling gantry, let out a whoop. Oh, they did not see that coming. From the shadows, resistance fighters emerged, striking with precision. As his forces crumbled, Zulvarek roared in fury. His command walker turned, cannons spitting plasma. Patel, now! Kane barked. From her concealed position, Patel triggered an electromagnetic pulse. The blast sent a wave of blue light washing over the battlefield. Zulvarek's war machine staggered. Its targeting systems flickered and failed. That was all the opening Kane needed. He sprinted through the wreckage, scaling a half-destroyed platform. Wrecker covered him with suppressive fire, forcing Zulvarek's guards to scatter. Reaching the top, Kane took aim. You think yourself a warrior? Zulvarek growled, wrenching open the hatch of his damaged walker. His massive form emerged, clawed hands flexing. You are an insect standing before a god. Kane's finger tightened on the trigger. Then let's see how gods bleed. His shot rang out. The shot found its mark. Zulvarek staggered as the bullet tore through his shoulder, his thick, armored hide splitting under the impact. He let out a guttural roar, a sound that echoed across the burning refinery. Blood, dark and viscous, spilled onto the metal platform beneath him. You dare! His voice was raw with fury. There was something else beneath it. Shock. Kane didn't hesitate. He fired again. The second shot struck just below Zulvarek's mandibles, snapping his head back. The warlord teetered, hands grasping for support, but but the ruined command walker beneath him gave way. With a final, earth-shaking crash, he collapsed into the wreckage. The battlefield fell into silence. For a long moment, neither human nor Zalvaran moved. The warlord's forces, now leaderless, hesitated. They had never seen a high warlord fall in direct combat. They had never witnessed their supposed lessers stand against their strongest and win. And Juno's voice crackled over the comms. That's it. That's the moment. Kane didn't need an explanation. He could see it himself. The Zalvaran were breaking. Fear, doubt. Humanity had given them something they had never faced before. Uncertainty. Push forward, Kane ordered. Resistance fighters surged from the shadows, pressing the attack. Without their leader, the Zalvaran faltered. Wrecker vaulted over a barricade, laying down suppressive fire. They're running! He laughed, almost disbelieving. Big bad conquerors are running! Patel, still hidden among the wreckage, quickly intercepted enemy transmissions. They're calling for a retreat to orbit. They don't know what to do without Sulvarek. Juno grinned. Let's make sure they remember this lesson. She activated the final failsafe, the demolition charges they had placed around the refinery's perimeter. The ground erupted. Towers of fire and debris engulfed the remaining Zalvaran forces, sealing their fate. The survivors, scattered and leaderless, fled into the night. Humanity had not just won the battle, they had routed an empire. The dawn that followed was unlike any Helios 3 had seen since the invasion began. Smoke still curled from the ruins of the battlefield. The people, humans who had once thought themselves doomed, stood victorious. In the resistance bunker, Patel tapped into the Zalvaran's own relay network. We have their long-range communications, she said. We can send a message. Kane glanced at his team. Juno nodded. Wrecker gave a thumbs up. Patel, exhausted but determined, waited. He stepped forward and activated the terminal. This is Colonel Elias Kane, speaking for the people of Helios 3. His voice was steady, unyielding. To the Zalvaran Dominion, your forces came here expecting submission. You believed we would break under your strength. You thought power was something only you understood. He let that sink in before continuing. You were wrong. Across the stars, the Zalvaran fleets received the transmission. High Command would hear it. Their warlords would whisper of it. The message of humanity's defiance would spread. You called us primitive. You called us weak. But today, on this world, you learned the truth. We are not prey. We are not a conquest. We are your reckoning. And if you ever return... He leaned in, voice dropping to a quiet, lethal edge. You won't leave. The transmission cut. In the silence that followed, Juno let out a slow breath. Well, that's one way to make first contact. Patel rubbed her eyes, exhausted but smiling. They'll never see us the same way again. Wrecker grinned, slinging his rifle over his shoulder. Damn right. We just rewrote the rules. Kane looked out over Helios 3. The planet was still scarred, the battle far from over. But for the first time since the invasion began, there was hope. Because power wasn't just in weapons. It wasn't in technology. It was in the will to stand, to adapt, to fight. And humanity? Humanity was just getting started.